It's my pleasure to welcome you to this overview course. First of all, I must tell you that SAP PPM is a project administration software that has a lot of functionalities designed to support the decision-making process regarding portfolio and project management. This is only an overview. My intention is to make this long story short about SAP PPM. I must tell you that the information presented here was gotten from SAP course S4 1 to 5 ENCOL. Before we can go on, I'm gonna show you the course characteristics. You will see slides plenty of information. This is not a KPIs presentation, neither a status presentation. This is a learning course. That is why my intention is that you can see the concept description writing down, not only listening. In that way, you can use this presentation for further analysis, studying purposes, or looking for a detailed concept description. Let me tell you that I want to show you slides full of information in a glance. Sometimes, in order to fully understand a concept, you must subdivide it, but that doesn't mean that I will use one slide for each subdivision. Instead, I will show you the concept and their parts in only one slide in order to understand the whole concept and how their parts interact each other. Target audience. This course is intended for all those ones to have a quick overview regarding SAP PPM, or project managers who want to expand their knowledge in project management software. I mean, this is not a rocket science. Anyone with a little experience in project administration can take advantage of this course and apply the knowledge in their own projects. It's intended as well to all those decision makers who wants to evaluate this tool as a project management software and compare with other options in the market. And as well for functional consultants that are involved in a project where SAP PPM is currently or will be used as a project management software. What is next after this course? Well, as I told you, this is only an overview. If you would like to go deeper in the SAP PPM understanding, you must see my next videos. I will show you the setup, Fiori apps, and a detailed description regarding SAP PPM concepts. SAP PPM has a lot of functionalities. That is why I have subdivided this course in three main areas. The first one is everything related with portfolio management. The second one is everything related with project management. And the third part of this course is all those concepts involved in integration with another softwares. Could be SAP softwares, like the ones that you are looking in this slide, or could be external softwares as Microsoft Project. Well, successful companies distinguish themselves from others by aligning their entire portfolio with the portfolio goals of the company. In practice, this applies to the introduction of a new product or to companies in which project-based business process play a central role. I want to introduce you the roadmap for the entire course. As you can see in the upper right hand, we have the agenda for SAP PPM Portfolio. In one part, we will study the structure. In the second part, we will study the functions that we can use. Then we go on with project management functions, and as in the first course, I will first of all explain everything related with the structuring the projects, and then I will explain you all the functionalities that we can use to manage our projects. And in the third part, I will show you the way we can integrate SAP PPM with SAP functionality, for example, FIO, PS, HCM, or CITS. And as well, I will show you the way we can integrate SAP PPM with Microsoft Project. Well, let's start with the SAP PPM Portfolio Overview. And our first item is SAP PPM Basic Structure and Structure Creation. During the following items, I will show you the way we can create a whole portfolio for a typical company. As you can see here in the left hand side, I am showing you the figure that we will use as a base to explain all the concepts that we will review in this course. PPM helps you to overcome the challenges of strategic and operative portfolio management, achieving the following objectives. Align your portfolio with your corporate goals. With PPM, your portfolio items and initiatives are regularly assessed according to their exact strategic value, and your commercial success is proven and accelerated. Maximize the value of your portfolio. You can select the most promising portfolio items and guarantee steady success. At the same time, you can ensure a balanced portfolio with acceptable risk, dynamic business targets, and various investment types. Create more transparency and make informed decisions. PPM combines data from SAP and external systems so that underachieving or overlapping projects and capacity bottlenecks can be quickly recognized and adjusted. Use your resources more effectively. PPM helps you track and prioritize resource requests from various project management systems and reconcile the availability specified in the HCM and financial system. In this way, you can find suitable resources, internal or external, lower costs, and benefit from the optimum personnel assignment of your projects. Control your portfolio more efficiently. Using automated role-specific workflows, you can optimize approval procedures, resource allocations, or successive evaluations. A strict workflow-based process control enables you to implement investment guidelines throughout the company for product developments or IT projects. Reduce your total cost of ownership. PPM can be integrated with many backend systems from SAP. In this way, you can continue to optimize existing IT systems and available skills. In the following lessons of this course, I will explain you the concepts involved in structuring the projects. As you can see here, project definition, portfolio type, portfolio bucket, classification hierarchy. And as well, in the second part of this course, I will show you the functions that we can take advantage to manage in a better way our portfolio. In this slide, you can see the way we can create the company portfolio using SAP PPM. In SAP PPM, we have three main parts. The first one is the portfolio itself. So in the figure, you can see that I have an IT portfolio, then I have a manufacturing portfolio, human resources portfolio, but I can have marketing portfolio or commercial portfolio. The portfolio are subdivided using buckets, and a bucket can have sub-buckets as well. We don't have any limit to create buckets or sub-buckets. We can create as many buckets as we needed. Below the bucket, we have items. And as well, we can have as many items as we needed. And we can have initiatives. Initiatives can group some items from different buckets. And as well, we have a project management system. The project management system can be SAP PPM or can be SAP project system or could be Microsoft project as well. But I will explain the project management system in a very detailed way in another course. Please review these descriptions in order to get a better understanding. Setting up portfolio type is the way we will control the portfolio behavior and functionalities that we will use in the future for manage the business portfolio. Depending on the portfolio type, you can then configure fields of portfolio buckets, items, and so on. You can define which fields are displayed, hidden, ready for input, or mandatory. If necessary, you can also specify whether a field must be filled before saving, depending on item types and decision points. As you can see in this figure, portfolios are the highest structure object of portfolio management in PPM. Portfolio buckets, portfolio items, and initiatives, along with collections and review, always belong to a portfolio. You must assign a name and an external identification to the portfolio and set a status before you can save a portfolio. You can also create a descriptive test. During this course, I will go deeper in the explanation about collections and reviews. As you can imagine, setting up portfolio type is one of the most important activities that the PPM administrator have to do. As you can see in this figure, in setting up portfolio type, we will configure fields. Define the status for reviews and what-if scenarios. Define views, categories, and groups. These concepts are related with financial and capacity planning and are very important. And we can restrict item or initiative type. So, setting up the portfolio type, we will define which items, types, or initiatives we can use. And the image represents that the portfolio definition always have a portfolio type. Well, we have already explained the upper element, portfolio and portfolio type. Now it's time to explain the second element in the structure, the buckets and sub-buckets. The second element in the structure are the buckets. Using portfolio buckets or short buckets, you can structure a portfolio hierarchically, as you can see here in this figure. Portfolio and its buckets are called a standard portfolio. We have different views of the same portfolio. This view is called a standard, but we can have another view. For example, in the figure I am showing you the classification hierarchy. We will explain classification hierarchy in another lesson, but we can have collections and review as well, as another way to view the portfolio. At bucket level, you can perform strategic, financial, and capacity planning, or analyze the financial and capacity data of assigned portfolio items in aggregated manner. A bucket always belongs to a portfolio. How you structure your portfolio using buckets depend on your requirements. In this figure, for example, we structure the portfolio according to a functional point of view. Please make a note the following points when structuring a portfolio using buckets. We can assign portfolio items, the blue ones, only to those buckets that doesn't have sub-buckets. As you can see in this figure, we can assign items below infrastructure. Why? Because infrastructure has another sub-buckets. But we can assign in a personal bucket because personal bucket doesn't have sub-buckets. Another point is that the authorizations will be inherited for upper elements. For example, the buckets receive authorization from portfolio, and items receives the same authorizations than the bucket, but those authorizations can be changed. A bucket can be reassigned. What does that mean? That means that I can move this bucket, this sub-bucket, for example, to this other bucket. The bucket can be reassigned. Before we can go on with the third element in a portfolio item, I want to introduce you the classification hierarchies. You can create classification hierarchies to map additional views to your standard portfolio. You may think about additional hierarchies like a market-specific hierarchy or product-specific hierarchy. In this figure, I am representing the standard view. I mean, the standard view is the structure that we create for a portfolio. But as you can see here in the middle of the slide, we can subdivide the items in different classification hierarchies. For example, this item, the financial planning values are subdivided 80% to this bucket of this classification hierarchy and the 20% to this other bucket of this classification hierarchy. And as well, these two items are subdivided to those classification hierarchy. So financial planning values and capacity planning of a portfolio item are distributed into multiple buckets of the classification hierarchy in the same way as the item is split into multiple buckets. We can subdivide the items in different classification hierarchy. In this figure, I am showing that this item is subdivided, but we can subdivide this item in this other classification hierarchy as well. Okay, let's start with the biggest lesson of this first phase of the course. I am referring to the third element of the portfolio project, portfolio item. As you can see, to define portfolio item, we have 6 different elements. During this course, we will not go deeper into the explanation of these 6 items because this is only an overview course. To create a portfolio item, we must first set up the portfolio item type. This is the way to control the behavior of the items to be used in our portfolio. Here in the first column, I am showing you the different setups that we have to define the attributes. In the second column, I am showing you the elements that we have to set up the workflows. In this third column, we can use statuses to document the current status or processing status of a portfolio item. However, the process that a portfolio item goes through is often very complex, and status management alone is insufficient to map complex process. That is why we have to define decision points. And finally, we can set up the way the item will be linked to SAP PPM project management. After we have defined the portfolio item type, we can create an item and assign it the item type already created. As you can see in the left-hand side, we have the same portfolio that we have presented in our previous slides. Here, you can see the 3 main elements: portfolio, dark blue shade, buckets, orange shade, and items, light blue shade. Items are the elements of the portfolio that we will use to link with other project management software. In the figure, you can see that one item is linked to Microsoft Project. Another one is linked to SAP PS, and another one is linked to SAP PPM Project Management. So, as you can see, with this lesson, I am finishing the explanation of the portfolio structure. This is only an overview. If you want to go deeper in the explanation of the way we can use these different elements to set up, I invite you to join to the course SAP PPM Portfolio Management Detailed Explanation. Well, we will start with the second part of this course. At this point, we have finished the portfolio creation. We have defined the structure and we have defined the different elements that our portfolio needs to be managed. Now, we will learn how to use the different functions that we have to manage the portfolio. As you can see, we will go through 5 different lessons. So let's go on. Let's start with the first function, user administration. Regarding user administration, I want to say that authorizations are inherited in a top-down manner. That means that authorizations that you grant at portfolio level will be inherited by the lower elements. As well, the authorizations that you grant at bucket level will be inherited to the items. Nevertheless, you can grant object-specific authorizations directly for individual users, and you can also grant authorizations for user roles. You can assign the following activities to users or users' roles for an authorization check. Admin, write, read, or none. The second function that we will review is about create reviews and version. As you can see in the left-hand side, I am showing you the portfolio structure. Here we have 2 reviews and some items are assigned to those reviews. You can assign portfolio items of different portfolio buckets to a review. You can also change the assignment of portfolio items to a review after you have saved it. You can assign a status to a review. And in the authorization section of a review, you can manually define which user is to have authorizations for changing or reading the review. After we have created a review and assigned items to it, we can perform different actions and we can call various views. The reviews are used mainly to compare items that are in that review. So that means that we can check critical success factors of the items of a portfolio. We have 2 versions. One is a snapshot and the other one is what if. The main difference is that we cannot change snapshots and they are used only as a reference to compare the current status of the items in a review versus the status that they had at the moment that the snapshot was taken. On the other hand, what if can be changed to evaluate the impact that some changes can produce in the item. For example, What if we increase the funds? What if we decrease the consultants assigned? The figure is showing the steps that we must follow in order to set up the views. And again, this is an overview course. That is why I will not go deeper in the explanation of these steps. Welcome to our third lesson, questionnaires and a scoring model. I will show you three concepts: questionnaires, a scoring model, and a scoreboard. Portfolio item fields such as the probabilities of technical success or the assessed project risk are important criteria for the assessment or comparison of portfolio items. Using questionnaires, you can derive the values of these fields from a qualitative standardized criteria and analyze the derivation of the field values later, instead of entering the values manually. In this example, we have a questionnaire called Software Projects Change of Success. Here we have two questions regarding resources. In the first one, we have two options, and it's a single choice, and we will use radio buttons. And the weight is 40. The second question is again a single choice, but we will use drop-down box, and the weight is 80. So instead of enter manually a numerical value, we can use the questionnaires to derive the value of that item field. In that way, we can know which user selected one or another choice in the questions that we have defined. In questionnaires, the value of the field is derived from some questions. On the other hand, we use a scoring model to derive the value of a field using the values of other fields. For example, derived risk will obtain this value from the probability of technical success that weighs 60 plus development cost that weighs 80. We assign different range and the scoring for those range in both cases. Again, for example, if the value of probability of technical success is 72, the scoring is 80, and if the value of development cost is 40,000, the scoring is 50. Then we must obtain the percentage and multiply by the weight, by the scores, and we add it to the other field to obtain the final value from the field derived risk. Financial and capacity planning are the longest lessons regarding functions in portfolio management. In the next slide, we will see that financial planning is done for three different portfolio objects. We have different entries. We have 3 tiers for planning, and we have 3 integration ways. And specifically for SAP FICO, we have 3 different ways to integrate. Overview. In portfolio management, analyzing costs, revenues, and budget is a major task. Based on capacity data, you might decide which product of your portfolio item is required to be updated, which project is required to be terminated, or in which product you want to invest. I said that financial planning is done for 3 objects. One is bucket, the other one are the items, and the last one are the initiatives. I said that we have 3 tiers. The upper one are the views, that the value can be, the financial planning can be done for plan figures, actual figures, forecast figures, or allocate figures. But we can create our own views as well. The second element is categories. And the last one are groups. And I said that we have different entries. One entry could be the using of PADIs. We can enter financial values manually, or we can get those values from integration with other functionalities. In particular, we have 3 integrations. One is to integrate financial planning with capacity planning. The other one is integrate with project management projects. And the last one is to integrate with SAP FICO. And if we decide to integrate with SAP FICO, we can use 3 different interfaces. We can assign cost elements to combination of views, categories, and groups, or we can determine cost element by value type, controlling area, and cost element interval. And finally, we can map cost centers and activity types to views, categories, and groups. For buckets, we can use roll-up. As you can see in this figure, the value from the item can be rolled out to the bucket, and the values of a sub-bucket can be rolled up to the bucket. Example of views could be category, it could be plan cost or forecast cost. Example of categories could be primary cost or secondary cost. And examples of group could be cost for materials and cost for service. The last function in portfolio management is capacity planning. Financial planning deals with funds, and capacity planning deals with resources. In PPM, you face a number of constraints. You must complete items and projects on time and within budget. However, capacity demand and resource allocation have an impact on your item. As you can see, we have three different objects in which we can do the capacity planning. One is the bucket, the other one are the items, and the other one are the initiatives. We have three tiers: views, categories, and groups. And I want to point out that we can create our own views, our own categories, and our own groups in order to implement the necessities of the business. We have different entries. We can use VDIs, we can do it manually, we can use integrations only for items. It is very important. We can use integration only for items. And we can use rollouts. As you can see in this figure, we can roll out from items to sub-buckets or items to buckets. And as well, we can roll out from sub-buckets to buckets. If we decide to use integration for items, we have two ways to do it. One is resource planning data from assigned portfolio projects, and the other one is from actual or planned times entered in FICO systems. Finally, I want to say thank you very much for watching this video. First out of three, we have seen the concepts involved in portfolio management. Please don't get away, be in touch, because in the near future I will upload the videos regarding integration and project management overview. And as well, if you have any doubt or comment, don't hesitate to reach me using my email, and I will answer as soon as possible. Once again, thank you very much.